Note well taken.
I would just like to say something. The purpose of our summit here was to look specifically at systematic change, and you can't address sustainability on a project by project basis. It has to be a network program. It has to be a policy. And this is our first summit here on sustainability of transportation infrastructure. And what we wanted to do here was to exchange ideas, but more importantly, to open the door of thought to more sustainable design and planning. And so we can't argue over whether or not this particular section of roadway is going to be built by concrete or by asphalt, because that's the project by project base. What we need to look at a whole new change of thought process, address all the items of sustainability, whether they're economic or environmental, whether they're heat island effect or PVI or safety or whatever they are. We need to consider all these things and change policy. And that way we're truly going to build in a sustainable transportation infrastructure that's going to be long-term, outlive us, certainly by a long shot. And that's really our goal here today.
Again, I'm Mike Murtha with the Florida Concrete and Products Association, and I just wanted to echo the good doctor's words. We see each other in the asphalt and the concrete industry on different sides, and I've watched it play out for 25 years, and it can get pretty heated. But on behalf of our industry, I just want to thank our counterparts in the asphalt industry for coming out here and exchanging with us on some of these important issues. We'll be up in Tallahassee, and we will be fighting side by side on issues like the trust fund and certain issues involving regulation and development. But I truly want to be sincerely thank Jim Warren and the rest of the asphalt community for coming and partnering with us on this very important summit. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Franz, thank you for this time. And again, I also want to echo the commitments that have been made from academia, from FIU, MIT, and all the businesses that are present, and surprisingly enough, still present at this late hour. So congratulations for that. 3 words, and the first one is compromise. Second one is collaboration, and the third one is accountability. I think the problem that we face is we all want the best for our businesses, we all want the best for our economies and our environment. But I think sometimes we feel we have to compromise to get there, and I think that could be an error in our thought process. I think collaboration, that we can see the strengths that we all have in both industries, collaboration on the opportunities that we have if we work together, is, I think, the focus, which I know sounds great, it's hard to do. But I think if we use the last word, which is accountability, it's what are we going to hold each other accountable for our time here, and what contribution do we want to give to our industries, to our society, our state, local, federal government, and are we leaving this place better than what we got it? And I think that the sustainability is going to be hard work, and there has to be a lot of transparency and a lot of collaboration and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, let me take on this idea for the last minutes here, which Michael brought forward here, about we're here to discuss systematic change at the network level, change policy, and let's bring the question backward: who are the stakeholders here who are present here? And even with a little bit of provocation, I would like to ask people from either the asphalt or concrete industry to ask them, what are you ready to make changes to move forward with sustainability? In the sense, as just heard, compromise, collaboration, accountability, C2 square, C square A. What are these? What are these things? So let's reformulate this way. If you already have all the solutions in your pocket, well, then it's just a question that you move together to the State House and implement it. But my question is, do you really have all those solutions ready to be to compromise, to collaborate and to be accountable for these things. So maybe I can have some feedback. It's a provocative question, but that's what summits are about. Please.
The one thing that you mentioned, transparency. Both industries need to be transparent in how they address their product and also on what their intentions are. A two-pavement bidding process is probably the fairest and most economical way for a state agency to put forth their best resources for their pavements. And having both products, let the market dictate which way the products will go. And I think that was brought up in one of the presentations as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so transparency, so I need to at least C square AT. That sounds, we are very clear about that here. Yes.
France, there's a question there by Dr.
Please.
Mohammed.
Here from colleague from Louisiana State University, Dr. Mohammed.
Once again, I want to echo all the hard work and effort that's been stated earlier in the organization of this. But I think, where are we today? I think there are foundations to do something. We heard from a planner, policymakers, materials, construction, is that there are foundations right now. Where we need to be, I think we need to do something. You know, talking is good, but I think there are tools out there. Specifically, I think agencies ought to be having a special provisions on bidding process that will allow them to basically practice. You know, if we don't do that, then we just keep talking and talking and talking. But I think now there are plenty out there that should be able to start the process in terms of just a special provision. Let's look at it. What are the other additional things that need to have more work? And that will get us where we need to be by 2030.
Okay. Any other thoughts, which, please, Jeremy.
I definitely like the suggestion of working backwards, seeing where is it that we want to be, and then trying to see what it takes to get there. I think one of the things that we can do is look for models from other industries. So when we talk about, sustainability broadly deals with a variety of issues, but let's take a look at the like the garment or the clothing industry. A company like Nike, it was a couple decades ago that they were attacked for basically their labor practices, right? And so they tried to take into account then starting measuring other issues. Basically, when they would go to suppliers, they weren't just asking questions about performance. They started to ask about labor practices. So they were starting to measure different things, but the reality was that they weren't actually changing their practices. If a supplier was found to be not in compliant with Nike's standards on labor, they wouldn't necessarily not use that supplier. And now they've gotten to a point where they do actually make decisions based on something that they were measuring. And I think it's this, there are other industry examples like that as well, but that's something that we need to have here too, right? We need to obviously start measuring the things that are important to us in the design process, and then we need to change the incentives such that those are actually incorporated into the design process. So I think probably, the answer to the first question about where are we today, we need to say sort of what's the baseline design process, and obviously that's not the same everywhere. So there are some different variations on that. But where are we today, and then what are the incentives, and then how are we going to change the incentives towards more sustainable design practices?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any other comments, suggestions which we should consider in the white paper, which we, of course, we would share with you? Please, Tim. Please.
I would only say that I think going from backwards, the backward planning model is probably the best approach. And I don't think if we all got together and decided, what's sustainability, what's our sustainable infrastructure, what's it look like, what are the definitions of all those things, what's a safe infrastructure system, what's a resilient infrastructure system, none of us are going to come up with the same answer. So to answer your provocative question, we don't have all those things to then go to the State House. So I think the best approach really is to get the stakeholders together, decide where it is we want to go, what tools we have, what tools we need, and then at that point, then we can start to answer these questions.
Okay.
And get to that destination. And I don't think we're going to get there until we get together as a group of stakeholders and make those determinations, understand the definitions, and then work about the plan.
Okay. Well, that couldn't be a better statement to wrap up this session. So let me just summarize what has been said. I think what I'm very much impressed for, this was the first exercise, I think, where we tried to bring together around the topic of sustainability the four things which we tried to bring forward, which is one, compromise, collaboration, accountability, and transparency. I think these are the rules of engagement which are important to move forward on this topic of sustainability, whether this is the quantitative side, which I love because I believe that's the only way how to move forward in life, at least in my life, to running actually something, to obtain something meaningful which holds sway with those who finally will pay for it, so moving backward, that means the taxpayers and our society. Let us remind us that the investment of infrastructure is for society as much as our individual mortgages for us as individuals. So what we do here on the investment side is of important. As much as we like to live in a clean environment, the way how we design and operate our infrastructure decides in which society we're going to live tomorrow, whether this is on the water use, to the to healthcare issues related to CO2 or global warming that may be induced by it. But already water use and resource uses, etc., are a big tickets item here. Finally, if we want to move forward as a group, I believe events like this here, which try to define a common language, agreeing that we may not agree on all the different details, may be a way forward to make our infrastructures more sustainable. With this, I would like to close this summit. I would like to thank once again FIU for hosting us here. I would like to thank all my colleagues at FIU working so hard. Would like to give full credit to all the students who helped out. And I don't want to forget someone who helped us a lot along the way, which is Bernadette Chang, right here over there, who has who all the way since this summer when we started to work together has been closely working with all the different stakeholders involved. I look forward for our next meeting on this year to move forward and have a clean action plan, a roadmap, how we can move forward. And maybe having a sustainability manifesto coming out from this very meeting as an origin. Thank you very much and have safe travels home.